I'd like to ask you to use your imagination and think how it would feel if you've spent an evening of studying for an exam. You get up in the morning, all set to go to classes. You go down, you get to your door, and it won't open. You think, oh, I can just use my back door. But you go to your back door, and that won't open either. It'd be pretty frustrating, wouldn't it be? That's the kind of frustration handicapped students feel when they can't get to class because of the snow. And that's the same kind of frustration I've felt when I've tried to get my scooter through the snow and it just short-circuited because it got so wet from the snow. Now, there are many reasons that campuses could be inaccessible, but what I would like to address today is the inaccessibility of this campus due to the uncleared snow. And you may think, this really is never going to affect me. But sadly, it could. By accident or illness, it could be a problem for you. As you can see, I use a scooter to get around campus, and I have found that this campus is inaccessible due to the uncleared snow. I'd like to share that problem with you and then share my solution. First, let's start with the problem. As I see it, the problem faced by handicapped students has two components: the uncleared snow and the violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The first component is the inaccessibility of this campus due to the uncleared snow that actually creates a barrier for wheelchairs and scooters to pass through. Here in Wisconsin, we get an average of 43 inches of snow in any winter, and an average of 13 days of snowfall over 1 inch or more. As you can see, that would really create a significant barrier for those of us who have to use scooters or wheelchairs to get around. A fellow handicapped student shared his story with me. He is a quadriplegic. He has no use of his arms or his legs. He directs his scooter with a wand by his chin. He tried to get through the snow this winter, and he tipped over and was hurt. This is really unfair, and it's dangerous. Why should he have to jeopardize his life just to try to get to class? And why is it fair for him to be kept out of class when he has paid for classes out of his pocket just like you and just like me? I've heard the same kind of horror stories from several handicapped students, and the fact remains that the snow creates a barrier that we just cannot pass through. And that barrier really creates a significant problem for us. The second component of this problem is that the Americans with Disability Act, a civil rights act that was passed by our Congress and signed by President Bush in 1990, prohibits discrimination and requires that barrier-free access to any public accommodation be given to the handicapped student. The university is in violation of this act. Let me read part of it for you. People with disabilities have the right to full and equal access to any facility or accommodation of any public place. They have the right to make a request for accessible services by that public accommodation. I believe that language is clear. Full and equal enjoyment. And we're not getting that. That's why I believe the university is violating this Americans with Disabilities Act. Now that we have a clear understanding of the problem, let me share my solution with you. An effective solution could have three components. The first component is that the university should adopt a policy of snow removal similar to the ordinance that the city of Madison has. That ordinance reads, sidewalks must be cleared of all ice and snow whenever it accumulates to 1/2 inch or more, and the walks must be cleared by noon the day following the snowfall. I think the university should adopt this as a campus policy. Secondly, the university should set priorities to the areas that the handicapped student really needs. In an interview with Gene Turks of the Grounds Department, I learned of the university's priorities. He said that first the stairs and the hills are taken care of. Then the parking lots and the sidewalks are cleared by the plows. There was never any mention of the ramps or the curb cutaways that we handicapped students really need. We're not even getting a fair deal here. That's why I think the university is violating the Americans with Disabilities Act. I really think that the university needs to set as priorities the areas that we need, the ramps and the curb cutaways. The third component of my solution would address the lack of personnel in the grounds department. The university should hire a staff member who could focus on those areas that the handicapped individuals need to get around. Now, some of you may be wondering, how much would this cost? A 40-hour week at $8 an hour would be $16,000 a year plus benefits. The official published university budget is $1 billion. Surely they can find in a budget that big funding for $16,000 to hire someone who could make this campus accessible to all of us. In closing, I really believe that this is a workable solution. If the university were to go ahead and adopt this policy, they would then fulfill the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then they would make this campus accessible, and full and equal enjoyment would be there for those of us who are the handicapped student. Won't you help me effectuate this change? Please consider signing a petition that would encourage the university to change its snow removal plan. I will have those petitions in the back of the room when this speech is finished. To end, let me share with you a quote out of a book, Access: The Guide to a Better Life for Disabled Americans. The disabled minority is not a closed society. While nobody would ever change skin color, anyone can join this minority by accident or by illness. Disability does not respect age, sex, religion, or social status. Every American should consider himself or herself an ally for the disabled person who is just seeking a fair deal. Thank you.